The wedding hall stood bright and wide, filled with soft lights and white flowers that hung gently from the ceiling. Chairs were placed in neat lines, and a long carpet ran through the center of the hall. Guests slowly arrived, talking happily and smiling as they took their seats. It was a joyful day, and everyone expected something beautiful to happen. Among the guests was a man named Sam. He entered quietly and stood near the back wall. He wore a plain dark suit that looked old but carefully cleaned. His shoes were worn, yet polished. His hair showed signs of age, and his face carried deep lines shaped by time and experience. Sam did not speak to anyone. He simply looked around the hall with calm eyes. Many guests noticed him. Some looked at his clothes and frowned. Others whispered to each other and smiled in a mocking way. They wondered who invited him and why he was there. A few people thought he might be staff or someone who came by mistake. No one walked over to welcome him. Sam felt the looks and heard the quiet laughs, but he showed no reaction. He stood straight, keeping his hands together in front of him. His breathing was slow and steady. He had learned long ago how to remain silent in moments like these. The hall continued to fill with people wearing expensive suits and shining dresses. Laughter grew louder, and cameras flashed as friends took photos together. Near the front, family members chatted proudly about the groom and the bride. Everyone seemed busy enjoying themselves. Sam moved slightly to the side to stay out of the way. He did not want to disturb anyone. His eyes followed the decorations, the flowers, and the soft colors around the room. The place reminded him of things from long ago, memories he kept deep inside. A group of guests near Sam glanced at him again. One of them shook his head and whispered something that made the others laugh. Another guest looked Sam up and down with clear judgment. Still, no one spoke to him directly. Sam remained still. His face showed no anger or sadness. There was only quiet patience. He had faced harder moments than this. He had stood in places where fear was real and silence meant survival. Compared to that, these whispers meant nothing. The music changed softly, signaling that the ceremony would begin soon. Guests slowly took their seats. The front rows filled first, leaving only a few chairs near the back empty. Sam did not sit. He stayed standing, respectful and alert. As time passed, the whispers slowly faded, replaced by expectation. Everyone waited for the groom to arrive. Some checked their phones. Others looked toward the entrance again and again. Sam also looked toward the doors. His expression changed slightly, showing a hint of emotion. His eyes held a quiet focus, as if he was waiting for someone important. The air inside the hall felt warm and heavy with excitement. A soft voice announced that the groom would enter soon. Guests straightened their clothes and fixed their posture. Behind the smiles and polite faces, no one noticed Sam's steady stance. No one guessed the history he carried or the reason he stood there that day. Sam's hands tightened slightly, then relaxed. His mind traveled back through years of discipline, long days, and silent promises. He remembered moments of trust and responsibility, moments when actions mattered more than words. A child nearby looked at Sam with curiosity instead of judgment. Sam noticed and gave a small nod. The child smiled and looked away. It was a brief moment of kindness in a room full of cold looks. The music slowly grew quieter. The doors at the front remained closed. Everyone waited. Sam stood ready, his back straight, his head held high now. Whatever happened next, he was prepared. He did not come for attention or praise. He came because he was invited, and because loyalty never fades. No one in the hall knew that the calm man at the back was about to change the meaning of this wedding forever. The doors at the front of the hall slowly opened, and a soft light poured inside, drawing every eye forward. The groom Mark stepped in with calm confidence, wearing a clean suit and a gentle smile. The guests stood up together, clapping and smiling as music filled the room again. Mark walked forward, greeting people with small nods and warm looks. His face showed happiness, but also focus, as if he was deeply aware of every step he took. Mark moved closer to the front, then suddenly stopped. His eyes shifted toward the back of the hall. His smile slowly faded, replaced by a serious and respectful expression. The change was clear enough that people nearby noticed and turned to see what caught his attention. Mark took a slow breath and changed direction. Instead of walking to the stage, he walked down the aisle toward the back. The clapping slowly stopped. The music softened. Confused whispers began to rise among the guests. People followed Mark with their eyes as he walked past rows of chairs. Some thought he was going to greet an old friend. Others thought something was wrong. No one expected what was about to happen. Sam stood in the same place, calm and straight. He noticed Mark approaching and lifted his head slightly. His eyes met Mark's eyes, and a silent understanding passed between them. The hall felt heavy with silence now. Mark stopped directly in front of Sam. The guests watched closely. Some leaned forward in their seats. Others held their breath. The quiet man they had mocked was now face to face with the groom. Mark straightened his back, brought his hand up sharply, and gave Sam a strong command salute. His movement was clear, firm, and filled with respect. The sound of surprise moved through the room like a wave. Several guests gasped. A few stood up without realizing it. Faces that once showed amusement now showed shock. The mood of the hall changed in an instant. Sam looked at Mark with steady eyes. For a brief moment he seemed surprised, but then his face settled into calm pride. He slowly raised his hand and returned the salute with the same strength and discipline. The two men held the salute for a moment that felt longer than time. No one spoke. No one moved. The only sound was the soft hum of the lights above. Mark lowered his hand first and took a step closer. His voice was strong and clear as he spoke Sam's name with respect. He told him he was honored to see him there. His words were simple, but filled with deep meaning. Sam lowered his hand and nodded. He did not smile widely or speak loudly. His presence alone carried weight. The guests looked between the two men, trying to understand what they were seeing. A woman in the front row covered her mouth. A man who had laughed earlier looked down at his shoes. The same people who had judged Sam now felt a growing sense of regret. Mark turned slightly toward the guests, but kept his body facing Sam. He spoke calmly, explaining that Sam was not just a guest. He said Sam was once his leader, his guide, and the man who taught him how to stand tall in difficult moments. The room remained silent. Every word landed deeply. The guests listened with wide eyes. Mark shared how, years ago, when he was unsure and afraid, Sam stood beside him and showed him the meaning of responsibility. He said Sam never raised his voice for attention and never asked for praise. He led by example and protected those under his care. Sam stood quietly, his hands now resting at his sides. His eyes showed memory and restraint. He did not interrupt or deny the praise. The guests began to see Sam differently. His simple suit no longer looked poor. It looked honorable. His quiet nature no longer seemed weak. It seemed powerful. Mark took a step back and nodded to Sam again, this time with a softer smile. He invited Sam to walk with him toward the front. The invitation was not spoken as a request, but as a sign of trust. Sam hesitated for a moment, then followed. The two men walked side by side down the aisle. Every eye followed them. No one whispered now. As they moved forward, guests stood up one by one. Some clapped slowly. Others simply watched with respect. The hall felt different now, warmer and more honest. Sam walked with steady steps. His head was high, not in pride, but in dignity. He did not look at the guests. He looked ahead. By the time they reached the front, the mood of the wedding had completely changed. The laughter from earlier felt distant. What remained was silence mixed with understanding. Everyone knew this was no longer just a wedding moment. It was a moment of truth that none of them would forget. The hall remained silent as Sam and Mark stood at the front together, with every guest watching closely. Mark took a slow breath and turned fully toward the crowd, his face calm but serious. He wanted everyone to understand why this moment mattered so much to him. His voice was steady and clear as he began to speak. Mark told the guests that many years ago he was not the confident man they saw today. He said he was young, unsure, and often afraid of making the wrong choice. Life had placed him in a difficult path where discipline and trust were the only things that kept people safe. During that time, Sam was the one chosen to lead. Sam was quiet, firm, and fair, never speaking more than needed. Mark explained that Sam taught him how to stay calm when pressure was high. He said Sam showed him that real strength was not loud words but steady actions. When others complained or lost focus, Sam stayed firm and clear. He made sure no one was left behind. The guests listened closely. Many leaned forward in their seats. They had never heard Mark speak like this before. His words were not proud or dramatic. They were honest and respectful. Mark shared a memory of a night when fear filled the air and confusion spread quickly. He said that moment could have ended badly, but Sam stepped forward without hesitation. Sam gave clear direction and stood between danger and his team. Because of that calm leadership, everyone returned safely. Sam kept his eyes forward while Mark spoke. His face showed no pride. Instead, it showed quiet acceptance. He had never done those things for praise. He did them because it was his duty. Mark then said that after their paths separated, life moved on quickly. He built a new future, met new people, and followed new dreams. But he never forgot the lessons Sam gave him. Every important decision he made carried those lessons inside it. The guests felt a shift in their hearts. The man they had judged only hours earlier was now standing before them as someone who shaped the groom's life in ways they could never see on the surface. Mark turned slightly and looked at Sam. He thanked him not just for the past, but for the example he continued to set. He said Sam showed him that respect is earned through character, not clothing. Sam finally spoke a few words. His voice was calm and low. He said Mark did the hard work himself and deserved the life he built. He said he only showed the path, but Mark chose to walk it. His words were simple and honest. The crowd felt something deep and quiet settle over the room. Some guests lowered their heads. Others felt their faces grow warm with shame. They remembered the whispers, the laughs, and the looks they gave Sam earlier. A man near the back stood up slowly. He clapped once, then again. Soon others joined in. The sound grew stronger, not loud with excitement, but steady with respect. Mark raised his hand gently, and the clapping slowed. He said the wedding would continue, but not before honoring Sam properly. He guided Sam to a special seat near the family. The seat had been empty until now. Sam walked to the seat and sat down carefully. He rested his hands on his knees and looked forward. He did not wave or seek attention. Being seen and understood was enough. The guests returned to their seats, but the feeling in the hall had changed forever. Conversations became softer. Smiles became more sincere. People looked at Sam with new eyes. Some guests quietly spoke among themselves, admitting they were wrong. Others stayed silent, thinking deeply. The lesson was clear without being spoken. Mark returned to his place at the front. His posture was relaxed now. He looked lighter, as if sharing the truth had lifted a weight from his heart. As the ceremony prepared to move forward, everyone knew they had witnessed something rare. It was not just a story of respect, but a reminder that true value often stands quietly in the corner, waiting to be recognized. The wedding had become more than a celebration of love. It had become a moment of reflection that would stay with everyone long after the day ended. The wedding ceremony slowly returned to its normal pace, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Guests spoke in softer tones, and their smiles were sincere rather than polite. The music began again, but it felt calmer and warmer than before. Everyone understood that this day was no longer only about the groom and bride. It had become a day about respect, loyalty, and the quiet strength of a man many had overlooked. Mark turned back to face his guests and smiled, his eyes bright and full of gratitude. He thanked everyone for being there and reminded them that life is full of lessons hidden in simple moments. He said that the presence of someone like Sam was a reminder that true heroes often do not ask for attention. They act quietly, with courage and honor, and their impact is felt long after their work is done. Sam stayed in his seat, still calm and composed. He watched the room carefully, noticing the change in the faces around him. Some guests now looked at him with respect, others with quiet shame, and a few with curiosity about the life he had lived. Sam did not speak loudly or move unnecessarily. His presence alone told a story stronger than words could describe. As the ceremony continued, the bride walked down the aisle, smiling at the guests. The sight of her filled the room with joy, but even in that moment, many eyes drifted back to Sam. They remembered the salute, the calm confidence, and the story Mark had shared. They realized that this quiet man had shaped a future they had admired, yet never understood. The couple exchanged vows, and everyone listened with attention, but the guests' minds often returned to Sam. Some whispered softly, sharing the story they had just witnessed. Others nodded quietly, as if understanding for the first time that appearances can be deceiving. The simple suit, the quiet stance, and the calm demeanor all hid a lifetime of courage and wisdom. After the ceremony, the reception began with music, food, and laughter. The guests were more mindful now. They approached Sam with smiles that carried humility. They thanked him quietly for his presence, and some even asked about his life, eager to understand the man they had judged before. Sam answered politely, keeping his words brief but kind. He shared small stories about discipline, patience, and loyalty, but nothing that sought praise. Mark joined Sam at the table, sitting beside him with ease. They spoke in low tones, sharing memories and quiet jokes from the past. Their connection was visible to anyone who looked, a bond formed through respect, trust, and shared experiences. Guests watched them with awe, realizing that the bond between the two men was stronger than any display of wealth, status, or ceremony. Children nearby watched Sam with interest. Unlike the adults, they did not judge. They asked him simple questions about his life, about what he had learned, and about the adventures he had faced. Sam smiled gently and answered in simple words. His patience and kindness made the children listen closely, absorbing lessons they would carry with them forever. Some older guests spoke quietly among themselves, reflecting on their earlier behavior. They admitted their mistakes and decided they would never judge someone by appearances again. The experience had humbled them deeply, teaching them the power of respect, patience, and understanding. The lesson was simple, but it carried weight in every heart present that day. The evening grew darker, and soft lights decorated the hall. Guests moved slowly, savoring each moment, and the mood was warm and reflective. The celebration continued, but the memory of the salute and the story behind it stayed at the center of everyone's minds. They knew that the wedding had offered more than joy, it had offered wisdom that would remain long after the music ended. Mark stood and raised his glass for a toast. He looked at the guests, then at Sam, and spoke softly but firmly. He thanked Sam for everything he had done in the past, for the lessons that shaped his life, and for being a silent example of courage and honor. The guests followed suit, raising their glasses and offering quiet applause. The moment was filled with emotion, but it was calm and respectful rather than loud or dramatic. Sam nodded in acknowledgement, not seeking attention or praise. His calm demeanor carried a message more powerful than words could describe. The guests understood that respect was earned through character, and true heroes do not need recognition to matter. They felt fortunate to witness such a display of honor and humility. The celebration moved forward with dancing and laughter, but there was a gentle awareness that the day had been changed forever by one quiet man at the back of the hall. Guests shared stories about Sam's courage and the life he had lived. The whispers from earlier had transformed into admiration and respect. People approached him to shake hands, to speak kindly, or simply to acknowledge the strength they had seen. As the night drew to a close, the couple thanked everyone for coming. Mark turned to Sam one last time and expressed deep gratitude. Sam nodded calmly, his presence serene. The guests watched as he stood, adjusted his suit, and prepared to leave quietly. No one followed him. They knew his impact would last far beyond the walls of that wedding hall. When Sam walked out, the room seemed to exhale. The guests returned to their conversations, but every story shared carried his influence. The laughter and music continued, but the lesson of respect, courage, and quiet strength remained. People left with a new understanding of what it truly meant to honor someone and to look beyond appearances. By the end of the night, the wedding was remembered not only as a celebration of love, but as a celebration of character and loyalty. The story of the salute and the man who inspired it would be shared for years to come. Guests left feeling wiser and more thoughtful, carrying with them the memory of Sam, the quiet hero who taught everyone the true meaning of respect.